What's going on YouTube? JT's Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about Batman Detective Comics, issue number 1062. This one's written by Ram V with art by, Albuquerque, and then Simon Spurrier was the writer for the backup, and then Danny, who's never lists their last name, is the artist on the backup. So yeah, this is the start of a new era for Detective Comics. It's the beginning of Ram V's run, and I gotta say, look at this cover. This is one of my favorite covers I've seen in a long time. It's so distinctly different. It gives kind of like this operatic horror gothic aspect to the story, which is something I'm very much looking forward to reading with this new run on Detective Comics. In fact, that's kind of where the issue kind of starts out. It's at an opera, and they're definitely going through for like kind of that aesthetic to it. There's horror elements to it. You have Batman who's being haunted by a demonic entity of sorts. So there's a lot of like demonic entities, it seems, that are kind of haunting Batman and like his related family members within the DC universe right now. They even throw in Barbados in there, who's kind of haunting him, which Barbados was that demonic character, I believe, who was also in, or the Bat God, I think, who was in, what was it, Dark Knight's Metal, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's been a while since I read that, but yeah, so Bruce is off, he's doing his thing. He's also starting to kind of get slower, it seems, and he's not sure why. Like his health, he checks his vitals, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong there. He's feeling kind of slower with this stuff, and he's questioning why. Then he goes toe-to-toe with a bad guy here. He's like, he thinks it's a Maroni, but then it transformed into some weird demonic-esque type creature of sorts, and he's going toe-to-toe with it. It definitely has enhanced strength. He's kind of out of his element here, and he's about to get killed when he is saved by none other than Talia al Ghul, and he goes to confront her. He's just like, you're in my city, you know my rules, you abide by them, and she's kind of confronts him about that. It's like, look, your rules are about humans, this is definitely not a human, and this is something demonic of sorts. She's like, it's older than the Lazarus Pits, it's older than all this other stuff. I've come here to warn you, Bruce. So she saved his life, which was cool to see her appear, and it's just kind of those two this time around. Doesn't have anything to do with their son. She saved his life, and then she kind of went off and did her own thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing how she appears throughout the rest of the story. So Bruce goes home, or to his little cave or whatever, and he does some tests on himself, like late in the morning. He's just trying to question, like, why am I so slow right now? It's like, it's not a health reason, it's not this, but he just feels kind of off, and he talks to Dick Grayson about it, and Dick kind of like has some jokes about him being old and stuff, and then Bruce jokes about, like, I could still kick your butt. So I like stuff like that. From the raid that he was doing his like detective stuff, he finds an artifact which kind of reminds me a bit of the Lama configuration from Hellraiser, considering we have some weird like demonic type stuff kind of being integrated into this story with the gothic horror aspects and the whole operatic feel to it. It seems kind of fitting. Then we also see another family, the Orkham family, who has some sort of deed. I guess they're related to the Arkham family, and they're going to be taking over some things. More people are getting killed by this demonic-esque entity of sorts around, and then Bruce has visions of Barbados killing him, and he's just kind of haunted by it, and the musical box kind of opens up at some point. So yeah, there's definitely a horror aspect to it that's being sprinkled throughout this thing. Has the operatic feel, as I think I've mentioned like 80 times already at the start of this video. It was pretty good. Then we have the backup, which focuses on Jim Gordon after the events of the Joker book, or as I like to call it, the Jim Gordon book, because it was more of a Jim Gordon book than it was a Joker book. And the story is kind of interesting so far. The art, it's done by Danny. And if you saw some of the other videos on, like, say, Arkham City Ordered the World, you know that, like, I wasn't the hugest fan of that art style, but I think it fits more of a horror aesthetic than it does, like, other types of stories. Like, that art would not work for something like Superman, but for something like kind of noir detective and like a horror attributes to it, I think it works okay. It's not my ideal favorite style. I think it's a little bit kind of like messy in that, but I think it works for a story like this. I just like my line work and everything to be a little bit cleaner and more like defined rather than kind of like smushed up, if that makes sense. Kind of scribbled. So yeah, so Jim Gordon's there. He's kind of like trying to figure out what he's going to do next, like his whole like private detective thing. Somebody comes to him for help, he goes to investigate, and then he finds somebody like in the catacombs of Arkham. That's kind of where the story ends, and that one was written by Simon Spurrier with art by Danny, who never lists their last name for some reason. Like, why wouldn't you list your last name? Like, I mean, Danny is a very common name, and I just don't get it. But overall consensus, I did enjoy this first issue of Ron V's run on Detective Comics. I thought it was quite good. It was a good setup for things, and also the artist was Rafael Albuquerque. There you go. Rafael Albuquerque's art is really top tier right here. It really fits the story that they're going for. The action panels are very visceral. I like how the panel work kind of displays the story and showcases different angles on one page. Like, look at this page right here. Boom, 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 boom. Like, so many different things, and like nothing kind of like feels like molded together. I think it's really kind of clean cut and stuff. And I think, you know, Bruce looks good drawn in the art style. Talia, of course, looks very good drawn in the art style. And yeah, so I like the art in this issue. The backup, like I said, that's something you just kind of have to get used to. Like, it's not my ideal favorite style, but it fits the story that they're trying to tell. So yeah, not much else to say about this thing. Looking forward to seeing how the rest of the story unfolds. I like that we've added the horror aspect to it. I always enjoyed seeing that incorporated into Batman stories, because like I said, Batman is a creature of the night, kind of, per se. Like, at least in you know, most comics, like, he's at nighttime, unless you count the Adam West thing where he's like definitely like out in the bright daylight. But I like seeing, you know, kind of that horror aspect integrated to it, because like I said, I'm a big horror fan. So yeah, I think this is a pretty good start to it. Not like mind-blowing or anything like that, but a good start to this run, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this creative team brings to the table, because I really liked what Ron V did with Catwoman. In fact, I was disappointed when they were off the title. I think that's when the story, or the Catwoman book, was at its best. But I'm hopeful that things are going to pick up with Detective Comics right now. Now we got two good creative teams on the two main Batman books. We have Jorge Jimenez and Chip Zdarsky on the main Batman book, and now we have Ron V and Rafael Albuquerque on Detective Comics. And this is the start of a 4-issue arc, so you don't have to necessarily have read like a bunch of stuff beforehand. The Jim Gordon one, like, it makes sense where he's at if you read Joker, but it's still kind of its own thing. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on it. If you have any, let me know in the comment section down below. Be sure to like this video, share with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, hit that bell for notifications. Be sure to come back next time. I got to talk about the most recent issue of Task Force Z and the most recent issue of Deathstroke Incorporated. So look forward to that. All right, well, that's all I got to say. As always, take care now. Bye-bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.